Every evening, when the sun disappeared behind the old buildings, the night market came alive. Lanterns glowed with warm orange light. Shopkeepers called to customers. Musicians played soft tunes. The smell of roasted peanuts and sweet tea filled the air. Near the end of the busy street sat a quiet man beneath a faded red umbrella. People knew him simply as Elias. Some believed he could see the future. Others believed he could speak to destiny itself. Nobody knew where he had come from. Nobody knew why he never smiled. One by one, people sat before him, asking questions about love, money, family, and dreams. Elias closed his eyes, looked into their faces, and quietly gave his answers. Most people left amazed. But there was one thing nobody knew. Elias wasn't afraid of predicting the future. He was afraid of someone from his past. And tonight, his greatest fear was about to walk into the market. Every customer believed Elias possessed magical powers, but his greatest talent was something much simpler. He listened. He watched tiny details that others ignored. A farmer's rough hands, a soldier's old scars, a merchant's worried eyes. People revealed their lives before speaking a single word. Elias only connected the pieces, and somehow his guesses always sounded like miracles. Yet every night, after closing his small table, he whispered the same words. "Please, don't let him find me." 20 years ago, Elias had been a very different man. Young, proud, quick to anger. He worked at the busy river docks loading heavy wooden crates onto ships. One evening, a heated argument broke out between him and another worker named Victor. Both men shouted. Neither wanted to back down. The argument quickly became a fight. The crowd gathered. Someone pushed. Someone fell. Victor struck his head on a large stone beside the river. Blood spread across the ground. Everyone screamed. Thinking Victor was dead, Elias panicked. He ran into the darkness, never looking back. After that terrible night beside the river, Elias never returned to his old home. He walked for many days without knowing where he was going. He slept beside roads. He worked for small amounts of money. He lived with fear inside his heart. Every time he saw a man who looked like Victor, his heart started beating faster. Finally, he reached a large city far away from his old home. Nobody knew his name. Nobody knew his past. For the first time in many years, Elias felt safe. One day, he watched a street fortune teller entertaining a crowd. The fortune teller was not using magic. He was simply understanding people. And Elias realized something. A person who understands others can always find a place in the world. That day, Elias decided to become a fortune teller. Years passed. The frightened young man became a respected fortune teller. His hair slowly turned gray. His face became calmer. His voice became wiser. People came from different places to meet Elias. A worried mother asked about her missing son. A young man asked about his future. A businessman asked whether he would become successful. Elias never promised impossible things. Instead, he gave people hope. He listened carefully. He noticed their emotions, and he gave advice that helped them move forward. But every night, when the market became empty, The smile disappeared from his face, because deep inside, Elias was still running from the same memory. One evening, a traveler arrived at the market. He sat near Elias's table and started talking with customers. "I heard a strange story," the traveler said. "Many years ago, a man disappeared after a fight near the northern river. His family searched for him everywhere. The person responsible also disappeared." Elias froze. His hands became cold. The traveler continued, "Some say that man is still alive. He may be hiding somewhere under a different name." Elias looked away. For 20 years he had tried to forget, but the past had a way of finding people. That night, dark clouds covered the sky. Strong winds moved through the marketplace. Merchants quickly packed their belongings. Customers rushed home before the rain began. Soon only Elias remained. He looked at his old wooden table. The candles were almost finished. "Maybe tonight is just another ordinary night," he whispered. But destiny had different plans. A shadow appeared at the end of the street. A tall man wearing a dark coat slowly walked toward him. The stranger stopped in front of Elias. "Are you the fortune teller everyone talks about?" the man asked. Elias nodded. The stranger sat down. "I need answers," he said. Elias looked him carefully. Something felt familiar. His eyes, his voice, the way he held his hands. Then Elias noticed something hanging around his neck, a small silver pendant, a pendant Elias had once seen before, 20 years ago, on Victor. The stranger placed a few coins on the table. "I am searching for someone who disappeared many years ago." Elias tried to remain calm. "Who are you searching for?" The man looked directly into his eyes. "My father. My father's name was Victor." Elias felt as if the entire world had stopped. The name he feared for 20 years was spoken again. "My father disappeared after a fight, but before he died, he told me something. He said he had spent years trying to find the man involved." Elias looked confused. "Died?" he whispered. The stranger nodded. "My father passed away 6 months ago. He never hated that man. He wanted to find him because he wanted to forgive him." Elias couldn't breathe. The person he feared had never wanted revenge. The stranger looked at Elias carefully. "My name is Daniel," he said. "I have traveled across many cities searching for answers about my father's past. My father was not a perfect man. He made mistakes. He had enemies. But he always believed that people deserve a chance to change." Elias looked down at the table. His fingers were shaking. For 20 years, he had imagined Victor as an angry ghost waiting to punish him. But now he was hearing something completely different. Victor had not spent his life looking for revenge. He had spent his life searching for peace. Daniel continued his story. "My father disappeared from our hometown when I was a child. People thought he had abandoned us, but years later we discovered the truth. He had saved another man during that fight. He protected him from danger. He carried the blame
because he didn't want another person's life destroyed. Elias slowly raised his eyes. "Saved him?" he asked. Daniel nodded. "My father was never a victim. He was the person who stopped the tragedy from becoming worse." Elias felt tears forming in his eyes. The memory he carried for 20 years was incomplete. He had only remembered his own fear. He had never known the whole truth. Daniel reached into his bag. "I brought something with me," he said. He placed an old envelope on the table. "This letter was written by my father before he passed away. He told me that if I ever found the person from his past, I should give it to him." Elias stared at the envelope. His name was not written on it, but somehow he knew that letter was meant for him. Daniel slowly opened the letter. The handwriting was old and uneven. "My friend." Those two words immediately broke Elias. Nobody had called him a friend for many years. The letter continued. "I don't know if we will ever meet again, but if you are carrying guilt inside your heart, please let it go. A mistake from the past should not destroy the rest of your life. Everyone deserves the chance to become better." Elias covered his face. The tears he had hidden for 2 decades finally came out. The rain became softer. The marketplace became silent. Finally, Elias spoke. "Daniel, there is something you must know." His voice was weak. "I am the man your father was searching for." Daniel looked surprised. Elias continued. 20 years ago, I was angry and foolish. I ran away because I believed I had destroyed a man's life. I lived every day afraid of the truth." Daniel listened without saying a word. For the first time in 20 years, Elias stopped hiding.
Daniel remained silent for a long moment. Elias expected anger. He expected hatred. He expected punishment. But Daniel simply asked, "Why did you run?" Elias looked down. "Because I was afraid." Daniel nodded. "My father always said something. He said fear makes people run away, but courage helps people face the truth." Those words felt heavier than any punishment, because Elias realized he had spent 20 years fighting a battle that no longer existed. Daniel stood up. "I came here looking for answers," he said, "but I found something else. I found a man who spent 20 years regretting his mistake, and maybe that is the greatest punishment anyone can receive." Elias looked at him. "You forgive me?" Daniel smiled slightly. "My father already did." For the first time in many years, Elias felt free. The next morning, people came to the marketplace expecting to see Elias at his usual table. But something was different. The old umbrella was gone. The fortune cards were gone. The mysterious signs were gone. Instead, Elias placed a simple wooden sign on his table. It said, "Advice for a better tomorrow." People were confused. "What happened to your predictions?" they asked. Elias smiled. "I no longer tell people what their future will be. I help them create it." Years later, people still remembered Elias, but not because he predicted the future. They remembered him because he changed lives. Young people came to him for advice. Travelers came to share their stories. Families came when they needed wisdom. The old fortune teller finally understood something. The future was never hidden in the stars. The future was created by the choices people made every day. One evening, many years later, Elias sat beneath a tree, watching the sunset. The market was quiet. The world had changed. He looked back at his life. A young man full of anger, a frightened man running from his past, an old man who finally found peace. Elias smiled, because he learned the greatest truth of all. A person's past may follow them, but it does not have to control their future. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone carries regrets. But sometimes, the greatest fortune in life is receiving a second chance.